This video is all about the two small words hin and her in German. They're really important. You see them everywhere. But what do they mean? Well, they've got to do with the concept of direction, and specifically direction in relation to the speaker. So if you're talking about something going away from you, then you'll use the small word hin in some form, and we'll talk about which form that is. And the opposite is true for her. If you're talking about something which is distant, away from the speaker, but it's coming towards you, then you're going to use the word her in some form. And that's why you'll often see the word her linked with kommen, because if something is coming, it is arriving, it's coming close to you, whereas you'll often see the little word hin combined with the word gehen, because going has to do with going from here to another particular location. Now, one of the most important and common contexts where you see her and hin is these three words: where, there, and hier. And you probably know these words in German. Where is wo. There, well, a more general word for there is da, and a more specific one is dort. And the word for here is hier. But they actually change. There are three versions of these words depending on whether there's movement or not and where the movement's going. So if you're talking about where, but the movement is coming towards you, then you actually change it. You add her, woher. Likewise, if the movement is going away from you to where, you say wohin. It's the same with there. Daher means from there towards the speaker, but dahin, and perhaps more commonly dorthin, is to there, away from the speaker. The word hier likewise has those variations. Hierher means to here, where the speaker is actually standing, where the action is happening. Or if the speaker is standing away from where the action is happening, then you'll say hierhin, to here, but the here is somewhere else. Now, there are two things to be aware of in addition to just knowing these words. One is that you will often see these words woher and wohin in slightly different forms. Sometimes the wo and the her are split up, or the wo and the hin are split up into different parts of the sentence. And there are a couple of reasons for that, but just be aware that that's what it means. The second thing to be aware of is that English actually has these versions as well. And you might have no idea about this, but English has different words for where. And I'll just teach them to you because I think even though it's a bit nerdy to know these and very uncommon to hear them or to say them, it might just help with your understanding the German categories. So English, of course, has the standard word where, but it also has whence or whence, and that is if something is coming towards the speaker from where, or whither or whither, and that is to where. The same pattern applies to the other two words there and here. So we've got there as our general word for there with no movement. Thence meaning from there, and thither meaning to there. And likewise, here is our standard word for here. But we also have hence, from here, and hither, to here. But probably the most common context where you're going to see hin and her is with verbs. And I just want to emphasize that all of these verbs that we're about to look at, these example verbs, are separable. And that means that the hin and the her can actually detach. So with this first example, we have hingehen and hinfahren. The hin and the rest of the verb, the stem gehen or fahren, actually can detach depending on the context. You can watch my video on separable verbs to find out exactly how that works. Let's have a look at the rest of the example verbs. We've got two reflexive verbs next. sich hinsetzen and sich hinlegen, to sit down and to lie down. And we're using the hin, if you think about it, because we're moving from standing up position probably to a seated or a lying position, which is away from where we currently are. The next one is interesting, hineingehen. Notice we're using hin, but we're adding another specific location, that is in, usually inside. So I'm not in a room or in a building, but now all of a sudden I'm going into that room or building. The next one is a metaphorical example, and quite a morbid one, to execute, as in literally put somebody to death. But this one has a logic to it. Think about it. We're sending somebody, we're guiding or directing somebody, richten, away from us, away from this life, to somewhere else. And finally, the last example, hinbekommen or hinkriegen, is very colloquial. They both mean the same thing, to manage. And we're using this hin because we're getting something from where it currently is not to where it is. We're getting something done. Let's talk about some Herr examples as well. The most common in German really is herkommen, to come from, and you talk about this when you're talking about the origin. So when you ask about somebody's background, you'll use herkommen because you're asking how they got to where they currently are. The next one is herholen, and the idea is you're fetching something from somewhere else to where you are, hence the her. The next one is metaphorical, herausfinden, to find out. And notice that we're using a her because we're fetching something, this time sort of data or information, from somewhere else outside of our mind to where we now understand it. The next two are interesting because they add in, once again, the extra information about a location. We have hereinkommen, to come inside. It's pretty much exactly the opposite of to go inside. And the idea is this time you are inside, and whatever action is happening is coming towards you. Whereas herunterkommen reflects the fact that you are down at the bottom of something. Unter means below or under, and you're actually standing probably downstairs and the action is moving towards you. Finally, we have this metaphorical one again, herstellen, which means to produce. And the idea is something which did not previously exist is being placed in front of you. And finally, here are some example sentences. Schau mal hin, take a look. Now you're asking somebody or commanding somebody perhaps to look at something which is away from where you are. That's why you're using the hin. The next one is komm mal bitte her, come over here please. And you're asking somebody to come to where you are. Gib mir das Buch her, give me the book. Well, you want the book to come in the direction of where you are, which is why you're using her. And finally, es ist schon so lange her. This one is very interesting because it's not talking about location, it's talking about time. And that's why you use the her, because you're in a particular location of time. It's been so long from a point in the past to now where you are standing in relation to time.